my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and today it is time to talk about what I read in May. May was, all in all, a pretty good reading month for me. I did not have a single 3-star book in May. It was all 4- and 5-star books, and I'm very happy with that. Extremely happy with that. I had a really great selection of books, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about them. Before I start the stats, I just want to point out, let everyone know that I'm working off of paper today instead of from my computer because I got a new fountain pen and I wanted to use it, and this seemed like a good reason. Anyways, so in May, I read 9 books. That comes out to 3,741 pages. As far as format goes, I read 5 physical books and 4 audiobooks. I once again did not read any graphic novels this month, and that's a problem considering I kind of say that's my brand, but we'll work on that in the future when I have access to a library. The age range breakdown was 4 adult, 4 YA, and 1 middle grade. The genre breakdown is 6 fantasy, 2 science fiction, and 1 nonfiction. As far as ratings go, I read 3 5-star books and 6 4-star books. I owned 7 of those books, and 2 of those books were books that I got from the library, saving me a total of $43.99. To no one's surprise, my favorite book of the month was Caliban's War, and my least favorite book of the month was A Memory Called Empire. This was a really hard one to pick least favorite on because it was just, like, they're all really good, but I think A Memory Called Empire, considering that it took me 3 months to finish the dang thing, and that it wasn't grabbing me as much as I would have liked, I guess it falls in that. But this is still a good book. Now the stats are out there, let's talk about the books that I read in May. The first book that I finished in May was Wrong Side, doggone it. The first book I read in May was Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Eddo-Lodge. Why I Am No Longer Talking to White People About Race is an adult nonfiction that discusses the history of racism and anti-blackness in the United Kingdom. This is a book that's been on my radar for a while. I finally picked it up because there's not a secret TBR necessarily, but there's a project that I'm working on that I'm reading a lot of social justice books about. I think that, yeah, I chose a really interesting time to read this book because I read this at the beginning of May, and everything that went down with the protests and with George Floyd went down at the end of May. I highly recommend this book if you are having a hard time wrapping your head around what's going on in the United States right now. Not just in the United States, but we're really seeing it play out in the United States. This is one of the things that really proves that it's not just a United States problem, but there are things that are discussed in this book that I could read and see the direct parallels to things that happened in the United States, and that it's not a comfortable book to read. I'm not gonna lie. This wasn't written for me. This was written by a black woman to black people and other people of color in the United Kingdom, talking to them and helping them understand the things that their education system doesn't teach them, much like our education system in the United States doesn't teach us a lot of stuff. I know that half the stuff I know is only because I'm homeschooled and was allowed to read a lot. Anyways, that's not why we're here, and I already know people have unsubscribed to me, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, don't let the door hit you on the way out. If you have a problem with me talking about these things, you can go. Just go. Bye. This was a very, very, very good book, and I think this is a good book for people who need the evidence, who can't just sit and listen to people's stories, because she sits down and she breaks down historical cases. She sits down and she links it to other things that have happened. She covers feminism. She covers the history in Britain. She covers the way Britain not just has their own history with it, but how they contributed to the history in the world. She talks about classism and how that affects racism. She talks about the fact that white people are very often afraid of black people and other people of color. And so it is a good book. If you are looking for something that you need to read, pick this book up. I will also have linked down below in my description box a bunch of black booktubers, their videos, because there are people out there making videos about racism and white supremacy. And so if you're trying to understand better and you're trying to educate yourself, I'm going to point you to them. Go watch their videos. Go write down the books that they are recommending. Yeah, that's all I got to say. The next book that I finished in May was one I've been working on for a long time, and that is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. A Memory Called Empire is about Mahit Desmer, who has traveled from her small space station into the center of the Texacalan Empire to act as an ambassador. When she gets there, however, she discovers that not only did her predecessor not die peacefully, but she has been cut off from the memory machine that was supposed to be her one link back to home. This book and I have a slightly troubled history because I tried to start reading it last year and I just wasn't having it. It wasn't working for me, so I put it down. It wasn't that it wasn't interesting, I just wasn't in the mood. I just read the 5th season, and guys, after the 5th season, it's really hard to read any other sci-fi and be like, this is good. It's not one that grabs you and or at least it didn't grab me and have me on the edge of my seat and needing to know what happened next. However, it was good. It did, like, when I was reading it, it kept my attention. It was just a book that was easy to forget about. I liked it. I liked the things that Arcady Martine had to say about empire and colonialism in this book. Now, she is white writing from this perspective. That's the word. She is white writing about these things, so if you're looking for an own voices narrative on colonialism and imperialism, not it. I have a book there for you later. But she is a professor that has studied the Byzantine Empire, and then I want to say I saw somewhere that she has also studied the Aztec Empire, and that's what this is based off of. However, I have not been able to confirm that since I got the book the first time. Yeah, it was really good. I liked the world building. It was a little weird to get used to at first, the way that they name people in this world. It was kind of odd, but once you get into knowing the culture, it makes sense, but it was kind of odd at the beginning, and I was just like, what's going on here? I don't understand. If you're looking for FF sci-fi, the main romance, very slow burn, but the main romance in this book is FF, so just, there you go. It is a very, like, methodical, slow, kind of sit with you plot, like most of the things in here. I thought it was a little bit heavy on the world building to some extent, even though some of it was fascinating, but some of it I was just like, but I want to know what happens next. We're in mortal peril, but I'm not feeling the urgency here. Anyways, so it was good. I recommend it if you're looking for science fiction. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I will continue on with the rest of the series. I didn't quite get that, like, I don't know, I might pick up the next book, I might not, we'll see. The next book that I finished in May was The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White. The Guinevere Deception is a YA fantasy retelling of Arthurian legend. Guinevere has been sent by Merlin to protect Arthur from the magical threats surrounding Camelot. The catch, though, Guinevere is not actually Guinevere. So I love retellings, and so when I heard that there was a retelling of Arthurian legend and all of that stuff, I was ready for it, especially considering it's one that centers Guinevere, and I don't think she gets enough love. I think she got a bad rap in the first one because she got stuck with a man who didn't really care about her. Anyways, so that was the case for a lot of women in the Middle Ages. A lot of women. I thought this was such a great retelling of Arthurian legend. I thought the way that Kirsten White approached some of it, the way that she reimagined some of it, I can't tell you because part of it is a plot twist, but like the fact that her mind went there, I didn't see that coming. Do you know how often that happens? Do you know how often that happens? Like, if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about, okay? And yes, it kept me on my, the tension, the way the tension is in this book is so weird, and not in a bad way, but just like, it kept me on my toes, it kept me invested, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I was being rushed through this story, even though this is kind of a shorter book. I didn't feel like I got halfway through the book, and I just was like, moseying along on my own steam, and like, not even concerned, and then I was like, oh, we're halfway through the book, stuff is going to be going down, and guys, this book was really good. Like, fantastic. I loved it. Anyways, I can't wait for the next one. I don't like where it ends, and I'm pretty sure, considering what I know about Arthurian legend, I'm pretty sure I know who Guinevere is when we're looking at Arthurian legend. So, anyways, I'm not sure how ships are gonna work out in this book because I wasn't getting anything at all. But I am happy that we're not doing the whole Merlin Nimue plotline because that thing's just weird. It annoys me. The next book that we need to talk about is The Ship of the Dead by Rick Riordan. The Magnus Chase series is a middle grade fantasy series about Magnus Chase, who doesn't even know that the Norse gods are real until he wakes up one day in Valhalla and ends up getting drawn into a scheme to prevent Ragnarok. This was the April book for Demigods Anonymous? I don't know. I'm really bad at actually keeping up. May book? The May book? All I know is our June book is the first Trials of Apollo book, the Hidden Oracle. But this was the book that we did live show for in May. I have finally read and completed the Magnus Chase series, considering, yeah, finally. Huh. Okay, so, anyways, this is a Rick Riordan book. You know I love it. Rick Riordan can do no wrong in my mind. I mean, he has done wrong, and then he's gone and fixed it. I really enjoyed it. I thought the humor was on point. I thought the storyline in the Magnus Chase books has gotten tighter and tighter as we went. The first book, I felt like, I agree that it kind of feels a little bit all over the place. I felt like the second book really tightened things up, and this one, every single part of this story felt intentional, felt purposeful, felt like we needed it in the book. However, I don't think Rick Riordan does a great job with trilogies. I know I just said I don't think he can do any wrong, but, like, you know, if you can't criticize your faves, then maybe you should rethink your life strategy. I just feel like he does better with the 5-book series and creating character connection. And I'm not talking about the side characters. The side characters were fantastic. I feel like the connection between Magnus and the reader, at least, or between Magnus and me as a reader, it feels like there's a wall there reading this series. It is the weirdest thing. I have never had it happen with a Rick Riordan book. Like, automatically was attached to Percy, even though he was a 12-year-old boy with ADHD, which none of this is anything that relates to Percy Jackson. Like, but still. So, I don't know what's different about this one, but it's there. It's that, like, it's just, there's something in the way. I know that Norse mythology there's less of it that we have, and so it's harder to have things to pull from, like, there is with Greek mythology and Roman mythology and Egyptian mythology. Like, you could go on with Greek mythology and Roman mythology for ever, as he may very well be doing. Who knows? I don't care. I'll buy the books anyways. But I would have liked to see us take a little more time, especially in the second and third books. Like, he had good plot points. It just would have liked to see a little more time given to the characters and all of that. Yeah. I'll link the live show somewhere, probably in the description box, for this book, so that you can see what our thoughts were. The next book that we need to talk about is A Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh. Flame in the Mist is a YA fantasy about Mariko, who is on her way to meet her betrothed when her caravan is ambushed. Intent on finding out why anyone would call a hit on her life, Mariko disguises herself as a boy and infiltrates the group that she believes is responsible for the attack. So I absolutely adore The Wrath of the Dawn, guys. I do. It was amazing. So I picked this up because I was like, Renee Ahdieh knows how to write a romance. I enjoy it. And it was good. I have to say, this book is so underrated, and I don't understand why, because it was very good. Okay? It was good. More words, Margaret. Let's tell them why. I think the thing that really threw people off is, like, she talks about the fact that it is a Mulan retelling, and it's not a straight-up Mulan retelling. However, guys, the Mulan eggshells, Easter eggs, are in here. Like, they're in here. And I just, like, I would see them, and I go, I know where you got that from. Read it. It's good. I think another thing that got it is that people go into this expecting a Wrath of the Dawn type romance. It is much more slow burn. It is much more kind of like the side plot. The main plot is the main character, Mariko, who is fantastic. She is clever, she is resourceful, and she just takes a situation that could have turned out badly and she makes it into something else. It is about her finding her own self. It's not so much about the romance. There is romance, because you know I need that. But it's about her finding herself and finding her worth and finding out, you know, being able to be who she wants to be and the best of that. And I don't know why more people are not talking about it. I mean, I probably do know why. But, like, guys, if you are sleeping on this book, read this book. The next book we need to talk about is Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey. The Expanse series is an adult science fiction about the conflict between Earth, Mars, and the Belt as they try to avoid impending war and deal with the extraterrestrial proto-molecule, which seems to be threatening to overtake the solar system. You've been following me on Twitter, you know I'm losing my mind over this series. I'm a mess. I love it so much. And I don't know how to talk about it without just screaming incoherently, because I don't want to spoil anything. They are my new favorite ship. Like, They're not replacing Perkabeth, but they are basically adult Perkabeth. I've said this before. I'll say it again. They're basically adult Perkabeth. I just love them so much, and I love the journey they go on here, because one of the things I love about this is that it's this fantastic equal relationship, and she's not afraid to call him on his crap and be like, listen, I'm not compromising what I believe in for you, so bye. Like, she's not afraid to do that and be like, this is not going to work if you're gonna do this dumb stuff. I love it. It's good. She's also really just smart, and I love them. I really do. Also, my other two favorite characters in the show, like if you were to do top 3, it's Naomi Nagata, and then it's, oh god, I can't even decide. It's like a two-way second place tie between Christian Avasarala and Bobby Draper, because they are both phenomenal female characters, and I love them. They are just, they're good, and you're missing out because they are delights. They are just, especially Avasarala. She is a delight to have on the page because she takes no one's crap, and it's good. I liked it. I thought the plot was good. This one gets away, like the show and this one are a little bit different, but you could kind of see, I could see where they were putting the plots for various parts. So I was very happy that this happened. I was very happy that they added 2 more main female characters, and I hope that we get to see more of them going forward, especially Bobby, because I love Bobby Draper. Just, she's fantastic. She's a great character, and we need more of her. And I hope at some point we get a Naomi point of view book, or where we have chapters from Naomi's point of view, because if we get through 9 books and we don't have Naomi's point of view, I'm gonna have a word with some people. The next book that I finished was Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Roanhorse. I read Trail of Lightning earlier this year, I think, and I have made a mistake, because I read Trail of Lightning and that just ended terribly, even though I loved the book, but it ended terribly. And now I've read this book, and the next book is not out yet. And while this one ended better, I still am not okay with the fact that the next book is not out yet. Guys, please, can I just... What do I have to do, Rebecca Roanhorse? What do I have to do? Please, let me know. I will be patient. It's fine. I will survive. It's fine. Anyways, this was really good. There was so much pining in this. Like, oh man, I'm loving this relationship. Naturally, it's the first thing I talk about is the relationship, because that's who I am as a person. And I loved, we added some extra dynamics into this one that I really, really appreciated. It was so much fun to have more characters in this world and more characters that Maggie knows. I love Maggie as a character. Again, she's another one that's smart. Well, sometimes she's smart, but sometimes she's a Gryffindor. She's really smart, but she does also sometimes attack first, and I think that's one of the lessons that she's having to learn. Like, she has a really, like, this book is about her learning not to rush headlong into things and to use her brain a little bit more, and I liked that. I appreciated that. I like that we have this, like, she is, when people talk about a strong female character, she's what they mean. She is multifaceted. She's yes, belligerent. She's aggressive at times. She's a monster hunter or slayer. I think the term is, they call her monster slayer. Well, they actually call her god slayer in this one because of what happened in the last book. But whole different story. Let's reel in the thoughts and say what we're saying. Anyways, so her entire existence has been fighting. Fighting to survive, fighting for profit. She's basically a monster hunting mercenary. Occasionally, I guess, she deals with Navajo deities. And so this was so much about her having to reflect on what happened in the last book and move forward from it and figure out how do I do this? And we actually end up in more of the world than we see in the first book. So she's also having to, not only does she have to go, how do I adjust my behavior just in general, but how do I adjust it to the circumstances that I am in now, where everything is just a mess. Because the world's a mess. But anyways, I loved this book. I had so much fun reading it. These are good books, and I'm mad that the third book's not out. I would recommend that everyone be as dumb as I was and read both of the books and then suffer with me. The next book that I need to talk about is The Tiger at Midnight by Swati Tirthala. The Tiger at Midnight is a YA fantasy about Esha and Kunal. Esha is better known as the notorious Viper, and she has been tasked with assassinating a high-ranking general and stealing information from him. information that is key to her people's rebellion. Kunal is a soldier and the general's nephew, and he doesn't care how far he has to chase his uncle's murderer. The problem is, the general was dead when Esha got there. This is another underrated book, guys, and I don't maybe it's just because I am a sucker for slow burn, and I like it, and I'm totally cool with fantasy that the main focus is the romance, but why are people not talking about this book more? So I want to have a conversation with y'all because it's good. It's really good. The back and forth between Esha and Kunal is so good. There's banter, there's snarkiness, they're going like, guys, why are you sleeping on this book? Why are you sleeping on this book? Why? I've heard like maybe 2 or 3 people that actually liked it, and I get it's a slow-moving plot. It's focused on the romance. The imperialism aspect of it is this kind of on the back burner. It's what's happening. It's driving what they're doing, but it's not the main focus of the plot. Like, I actually think that they're pretty well balanced, if I'm going to be honest. I think they're pretty well balanced, but I know that some people would think that there's too much romance, and I don't think there's such a thing as too much romance in a novel. And that's just who I am as a person, as we've discussed multiple times in this video. So, anyways, I really enjoyed it. I thought Esha had such a compelling backstory. Like, I knew why she was doing what she was doing. I had no doubt about that. Kunal it was obvious from the get-go what was going on with Kunal, and I loved it. I love being right. It makes me happy. Maybe that's why I like it so much, because I was right. And I like, there's so much about identity and him trying to figure out what he believes and where he fits and questioning how he's been brought up, and I like that. Read this book. I really want to read the next book. I need to get the next book. I don't know how I'm going to get my hands on the next book because life, but I want it, and I'm going to work on that. And now it's time to talk about the final book I read in May. It's been a long year, y'all. And that is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. The Infernal Devices series is a YA fantasy series about Tessa Gray, who ends up thrown into the world of Shadowhunters when she travels to London to join her brother, and ends up kidnapped by 2 warlocks. So I'm trying to do this thing where I reread all of the Shadowhunters books within a year. I'm supposed to be doing 1 a month. Has that worked out? No. However, I love this book so much. I really, like, you guys have heard me talk about how much I love this book. I have an entire book diary that I'm doing for this series, so I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I just think that you should, if you want to read a Cassandra Clare series and you don't want to start with the Mortal Instruments, this is a good place to start, because I like this one. You don't have to have read the Mortal Instruments. It will spoil things that happen later in the series, like in the second half of the series, but not in the first half. And I'm trying to think if there's really anything that you would read this first. There really isn't. I did just read the books however you want to read the books. Just, yeah. Anyways, just don't read the Dark Artifices first, because you will not read the rest of them, because that was a disaster. Anyways, I love this. I love Will. I love Tessa. I love Jim. You should read it. Those are all of the books that I read in May. Please let me know down below in the comments. I almost call it the description box. You don't have any control over what's in the description box. That's all me. Please, down below in the comments, let me know if you've read any of these books. I would love to hear from you, hear what you thought of them. Are there any that interest you? All of that good stuff. Like, talk with me about books, because that's what I am here for. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, there will be videos over here. If you're already on YouTube, you have a minute, you maybe should check out the next one. Please, thank you. That would be great. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things.